I mean, what attracted me to the role was his place in the story. The story was fantastic, and the director was brilliant, and Julianne Moore and Sydney Sweeney were attached. So that's what attracted me to it. But the role itself is also something different to what I'd done before. He is a very dangerous man who takes advantage of people. He's from a different background than I had played before, and he has a real effect in the film. And so all of that was sort of reason to want to do it. Michael Pearce is like a fantastic director. His first film, Beast, that he wrote and directed, I think, is just amazing. The performances are fantastic. He's really good with actors, but he's got a really strong sense. It's a proper film, like it's a cinema movie. And he works with Ben, his director of photography, a lot, and together they're a fantastic team. So he's a proper director. He was great to work with. How would I describe Echo Valley in 5 words or less? Julianne Moore, Sydney Sweeney, thriller. That's pretty good. The difference between playing romantic lead and a villain in a film, there's a huge difference. If you're the romantic lead, you're in a lot of the scenes in the movie. If you're the villain, oftentimes you're only in like half the scenes. And so I don't think I prefer one or the other. I think in a good career, you get to do both. And the fun is getting to do both. So I don't prefer either of them. The difference is the schedule. If you're the romantic lead, you're in every day. If you're the villain, you get half the week off. So maybe that's what I prefer. The experience working with Julianne and Sydney was everything I hoped it would be. Julianne is one of the best actors ever and has been in so many amazing films and has been amazing in so many amazing films. And I think she's wonderful in this as well. So and she's nice to work with. It's not like all about her. She doesn't throw her weight around. She's like a proper number one on the call sheet. She's amazing. Sydney is kind of the same. She's just like, her career is obviously a lot shorter because she only started recently, or not recently, but in the last few years. But she is like super, throws herself at the work, and I think is wonderful in the film as well. So yeah, you couldn't be more lucky in terms of the two people leading the film. I think the American dialect that Irish people enjoy doing the most is like anything from the South that isn't too specific, like the Western accent you remember from when you were a kid, from like in Westerns and stuff like that. Cowboy movies and things like that. So that's probably the one that like comes easiest to us because it's the most distinctive. And then anything more generic than that, or on the middle of the country, the coast, stuff like that, those can be a little trickier. But the South, you hear more in your ear, I think. It's nice that the film is going out to so many people at the same time, that so many people will have access to it. It only matters if people decide to watch it. And so I hope that people watch it when it's made available. And I hope they really like it. And when we screened it in the cinema a couple nights ago, people loved it and gasped and sort of shouted almost like, all the way through, because it's twisty-turny and that sort of stuff. So I hope people enjoy the ride of the film. And I hope they watch it.
Character-driven thriller about a loving but dysfunctional relationship between mother and daughter. It's more than 5 words, but so Scott Free, they sent me the production company sent me the script. I had a few meetings with them, and we were looking to do something together. And what drew me in was, Brad's writing is so textured, it's so layered emotionally, it's so tense. He's got these rich themes, and it's hard to get all of that stuff into one script, into 110 pages. Usually one of those things is missing. And I just found, I was affected by it. My heartbeat went faster as I read it. And I kept on thinking about it, days afterwards. There was just so many interesting, human questions in it. I felt very privileged each morning walking onto set, both because I admire a lot of the work that they've done and I'm familiar with it and I've looked up to them as actors, but also they all have very collaborative spirits. They're not tricky people to work with. And they come in super prepared, full of ideas and energy and excitement. I don't know how many movie like Julianne has done at this stage, but she walks onto set every day just sort of buoyant and like with the excitement of someone who was doing their first few movies, and I found that there was a lesson in there for me, because it's so easy as a director to become a bit neurotic or beaten up from the experience. You lose a location, something's not working, you have less time than you thought. But then I was reminded each day seeing, Julie's energy, and I was like, God, we're so lucky to be here. We should be. This is fun, and so they helped loosen me up and they inspired me each day. It was a real privilege. Tried to be very grounded, and I spoke to my cinematographer about not being too fussy in the way that we were shooting it, and that we should have the confidence to be understated. So it felt like a lot of the time we wanted to be observational, and so when two characters were sitting opposite each other, we wanted to shoot them in a strong close-up, maybe another shot, and not kick ourselves for not doing something fancier than that, because we're ultimately interested in the human behavior. And we didn't want to get too tricksy with the camera or have too much kind of cinematic engineering or try to show off. So to some degree, rooting it in a reality, we felt that would carry through, and you wouldn't feel the audience wouldn't feel that they were pivoting from one genre to the next. They were always, in something that felt, authentic. Maybe sometimes we wanted to be a bit lyrical or ethereal at a certain moment or have a poetic observation. But for the most point, we just kept on coming back to that phrase. Let's just be confidently understated. I think when I read the script, there was lots of new challenges, like working with horses and fire and underwater and above water. And then very quickly, they really became the difficult parts of it. And you started to resent how slow some of those things are. And I thought it was a deceptively sparse and minimal and economic script, and that not that it would be easy, but that everything we could accomplish in the time that we had. But actually, all of those things took much longer than I thought. So I think the really enjoyable part was watching the performances. It was the days when there would be a big argument scene between Julie and Sydney's characters, and it was very tense on the page, and maybe I was a bit worried about how we sustain that amount of intensity when we're shooting it. But you'll see in actors who were looking forward to that moment so much. That was an exciting day for them to really scream at each other and attack each other, and so just seeing such strong actors really unleash on each other, and for them to relish that opportunity, for me, that was gratifying, because I just, we were kind of just witnesses to that. And it was so fun to see them explode. I think it's the shooting underwater. It's hard. Everything's in slow motion. I think it might have been the first time Julia had done that, and she's been in a lot of movies and kind of done everything up until this point. Well, if she has done underwater stuff, I don't think it's been much. So there was a steep learning curve for all of us, and it's really difficult for an actor to go down deeper than you would swim, with an oxygen tank. Take a few big gulps of air for that to come off, your mask to come off, And then she hears me directing through another underwater safety person. There's a speaker underneath, and to try and hear the direction underwater and then perform and then take the oxygen again and come back up. It's like, it's very hard. And I don't know if I could have done it, but she really took it in her stride. Yeah, that was tricky those days. Yeah, I try to, hopefully the actors feel like they've always got a lot of room to interpret their roles. And so, I was kind of surprised each day, by the performances. I think, like for Domhnall, for instance, he was always looking for an opportunity to inject a bit of humor into his character. I don't know if it was always there on the page, and he just thought, like, I think there's something interesting if he thought it was going to be a good counterpoint in terms of texture. And so I find some of the lines he says in the movie like the funniest moments. So I think it's when an actor just brings an inflection or improvises a moment or a beat in a way that I didn't anticipate. So that each day was kind of full of surprises in that way. For so many people to see it at the same time is great, of course, and because then there's a kind of global conversation about it. And in terms of what they take away from the movie, I hope that I love movies that kind of torture me a bit by the end, where I'm given sort of provocative questions that I don't have easy answers to, and maybe I've got conflicted feelings about what the characters have done, and I identify with them, but they've taken me down a road I don't know if I would go down, but I'm also seduced by it, and I keep thinking and ruminating on the relationships. And so hopefully there's a lot to think about and reflect on when the movie finishes. Yeah.
I would say it's a human mother-daughter thriller movie.
Whoa!
Yes!
I don't know how I can beat that. I can't beat that.
You can share it. We can share
Yeah,
it. That's our answer.
Can't beat that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
I was initially attracted to Claire, honestly, because of how intense and complicated her relationship was with her mom.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was such an interesting dynamic to explore. And then Claire is also just such a troubled person and complicated, and I love complicated characters.
Right. Yeah. I absolutely love the script. I can remember reading it. I was sick in bed with COVID, and I was kind of, reading a bunch of scripts, and I opened this one up and I was like, this is extraordinary. The writing was so clear and so compelling and really surprising. And then I was completely shocked and delighted by the twists later on. And Kate is someone who is, it's deceptive, who she is. You really do feel like she's not someone who's going to be capable, who's really going to be able to act on anything. She's struggling with grief and trying to keep this farm going all by herself, and has a daughter who's an addict, and it's rough. She's sort of at the bottom of the barrel emotionally, and so it's really surprising what she's able to do.
Oh, I love Michael. Working with him, he is so sweet, and I loved every day. I felt like he was just so in love with the story and so in love with these characters, and so thoughtful. Everything that he brought to the table was just, he had so much detail and care behind everything that he wanted to do.
Care. I think that's a great word for Michael. I think he really cared so much about everything, and brought a real sense of calm to the set as well. He was really very, very prepared, really thoughtful about how he was going to tell the story, and let gave us enough support at the same time that he let us do what we needed to do emotionally. He set a great tone. He had there were a lot of obstacles. There were crazy weather obstacles with smoke coming down from Canada, and we'd have electrical storms and have to shut down. And then we were struck down by the strike. Yeah. So we shot this movie and then had to come back an entire year later to complete it. That was rough. And I honestly can't believe that he was able to hold it together so masterfully that entire time. But he was just great. It wasn't hard. It was great working with Sydney. She's just a phenomenal actress and so prepared and has a great work ethic and is very emotionally available. And I think that this is a dynamic. The mother-daughter relationship is something we're both familiar with and interested in too, about how strong this bond is, how elastic it is, what it can hold, what it demands, I don't know, it's something that can really define a lot of your life. And it was wonderful to have a partner like Sydney to explore it, because we really were able to build it together very quickly and very easily.
Well, I've mentioned this, but I'm not surprised. Just by how kind you are. You've heard me say it, but you are so thoughtful and considerate, and just I always loved watching whenever you'd walk up to different crew members and ask them about their kids or their life, and I was just like, oh, you're such a good human being. It's so good because it's sadly it's rare. It is rare, and so being able to work with you, it's just inspiring.
Thank you.
You're incredible.
Aw, thanks. I unwind with baths and puzzles. But that's really it.
Yeah?
That's it, man. Although, oddly, I could not find a hotel room with a bathtub in all of New Jersey or Pennsylvania. We couldn't find it. So I had to was on just a shower.
Oh, no.
And that was okay. It was okay. And I had my puzzles. So that was fine.
I usually unwind by calling my friends or my family.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what I do. I hang out with my dog. Oh,
Domhnall's such a sweetheart and such a great actor.
He's
right?
incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, when you watch him on camera, I mean, I remember when I was doing the scene, my skin was crawling, but then he's so goofy.
Yeah,
he's a goofball.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
He's very funny, really smart, and just incredibly aware as an actor. And especially for me, because you had it too. You had some physical stuff with him. I so admire how careful and precise he is when he's doing that kind of physical work, because it really earns your trust as an actor. But he was great. And yes, he's very menacing in the film, not so much in life, right?
Mm-hmm. For Claire and her struggles with substance, I found, Michael actually showed me a series on YouTube, and it was this guy who interviewed a bunch of people on Skid Row that struggled with addiction, and there were hundreds of videos, and so I would watch them over and over and take notes and listen to different stories and watch the mannerisms, and I kind of drew from multiple different people on there.
It's really fascinating these days that a movie launches that way, or that can reach so many people globally. Because I do think that when you get down to it, these stories about our lives are global stories. We're all human beings, no matter where you are, no matter what your culture is. We all come from families. We all have loved ones. We all have relationships that we struggle with. So there's that part. And then we all love to be entertained. And so it's kind of wonderful to enter the universe or the globe with something that offers both of those qualities.
Mm-hmm.